Hey guys, tonight you're stepping back nearly 800 years, right into the bustling heart of a medieval marketplace where merchants haggle, fortunes shift, and life buzzes at every turn. But beneath the colourful banners, aromatic spices, and merry sounds hides a harsh reality. Being a merchant wasn't as glamorous as it might seem. Before we dive in, take a quick moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy the journey. Drop a comment below, letting me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is there. Now, dim the lights, relax into your pillows, and let's drift back together into the vivid chaos of a 13th century market day. Imagine yourself waking gently in the faint pre-dawn gloom, lying in your tent pitched hastily near the bustling gates of a medieval town. The smell hits first, damp earth, fresh cut hay, and yes, unmistakably, manure. It's strangely comforting. A rich tapestry of smells so authentic, it pulls you straight into the heart of medieval life. Your back aches, stiff from the thin straw mattress you tossed and turned upon last night. Each rustle of the rough linen beneath you whispers of restless sleep and promises of another busy day ahead. Your eyelids flutter open, greeted by dim threads of sunlight peeking through small gaps in the canvas. Shadows dance across the fabric, casting gentle patterns that ripple with the soft morning breeze. You sit up slowly, your joints creaking in protest, a reminder of the rough nights merchants like you regularly endured. The tent is small, barely tall enough to stand upright, cluttered with sacks of dried spices, bolts of woven wool, and small boxes filled with wax-sealed jars of honey, goods you've painstakingly brought from afar. Each journey a story etched in aching bones and weathered skin. Outside, the early morning hum is already vibrant. Voices murmur and rise, blending into an indistinct chorus punctuated occasionally by laughter or the sharp bark of a vendor eager to stake his claim on a prime selling spot. Horses neigh nearby, their heavy hooves clopping rhythmically against the cobbled road. Bells toll gently in the distance, marking the first call to prayer from the town's small chapel. The sound drifts softly on the wind, adding a comforting layer to the background noise of waking commerce. Pulling yourself to your feet, you stretch, feeling the rough weave of your woolen tunic brush against your skin. Warm, but itching enough to remind you that comfort is a luxury seldom afforded. Your feet slip into sturdy leather boots, scuffed and worn from months spent on muddy roads. As you lace them up, the earthy scent of cured leather wafts upward, mingling with the lingering aromas from outside. Roasting chestnuts, freshly baked bread, and smouldering embers of fires from breakfast preparations. Stepping out of your tent, you squint momentarily, adjusting to the dawn's brightness. The marketplace stretches out before you, a colourful tapestry alive with bustling activity. Banners flutter overhead, reds, yellows and blues catching the morning breeze, vibrant against a sky that blushes softly in shades of rose and lavender. Wooden stalls line the streets, vendors busy unpacking their wares, bundles of herbs, fresh vegetables and cured meats, all displayed enticingly, inviting trade and barter. Nearby, a baker's boy hurries past, balancing a heavy tray stacked high with golden brown loaves, their crusts crackling audibly as they cool. Your stomach rumbles, reminding you breakfast has yet to be considered. A merchant's life rarely allows leisurely mornings. Your first priority is ensuring your stall opens promptly, lest potential buyers drift toward your eager competitors. As you arrange jars of honey and baskets of aromatic spices on the wooden stall before your tent, you savor the tactile pleasure of handling goods so carefully procured. Your fingertips brush over smooth ceramic, rough burlap, and the fine weave of cloth sacks filled with pepper and cinnamon. Each spice sends tiny clouds of fragrance into the morning air, rich aromas that hint at distant lands you've visited. Spicy cloves from the East Indies, earthy cumin from North Africa, and sweet saffron worth more than its weight in gold. Your attention is drawn to the shouts of a neighbouring vendor advertising freshly brewed ale, his voice cheerfully booming above the market's din. Buyers are beginning to trickle in, their voices mingling into the day's symphony. Children dash between stalls, their laughter ringing clear, threading joy into the tapestry of routine. You reach instinctively for your pouch to feel the comforting weight of silver coins, proof of your hard-won profits. But suddenly, your hand freezes, heart skipping a beat. Where your money pouch should hang, you grasp nothing but air. Panic surges through you. You frantically pat your clothing, checking pockets and folds. But the pouch, your lifeline, has vanished without a trace. Your pulse quickens, blood roaring softly in your ears, drowning out the noise of the bustling marketplace. The faces around you blur momentarily, turning indistinct in your sudden anxiety. Who could have dared to rob you so brazenly? Suspicion creeps into your mind, colouring your view of every friendly face nearby. Was it the boy with the quick smile and quicker hands? The chatty merchant across the aisle, whose eyes lingered a bit too long on your stall yesterday? Or someone closer, a trusted friend whose laugh now seems oddly hollow? Taking a deep breath, you steady yourself against the rough timber of your stall, feeling splinters press into your palm, sharp reminders of your current predicament. With effort, you slow your breathing, forcing calmness into your racing thoughts. The marketplace never stops for personal tragedies. Buyers still need their goods, and life insists on moving forward. But even as you try to regain composure, a curious thought nudges its way into your mind, momentarily distracting from your panic. Standing amidst this medieval chaos, surrounded by merchants, customers, and endless trade, what, you wonder suddenly, was even considered a university back then? How did education weave itself into the daily fabric of such an uncertain, vibrant world? So, you're standing there, heart pounding, staring at the gap where your coin pouch used to rest. The marketplace buzzes around you, oblivious. You're not just short on silver, you're short on trust. Someone reached beneath your linen tunic and stole not just your earnings, but your sense of safety. As you scan the crowd, another thought trickles in. What kind of education would even prepare someone for this chaos? You wonder if there's such a thing as a university for surviving markets. But then you remember, you're in the 13th century, and the word universitas doesn't mean what you think it does. See, a university in your world isn't a sprawling campus with coffee shops and anxious students revising at 3 a.m. It's more like a guild of knowledge. Latin-speaking scholars holed up in coal stone buildings, debating Aristotle under candlelight, not learning how to keep their pouches from getting pinched. These places, like Bologna, Paris, or Oxford, are more concerned with canon law and theology than trade routes and market scams. If you wanted to learn how to survive as a merchant, you didn't go to class. You travelled, observed, copied the seasoned ones, and learned through bruises. You studied the way caravans moved, how bribes opened gates, and which ports demanded salt, not saffron. Now, imagine you're packing up for your next route. Your fingers are blackened with ink as you double-check inventory on rough parchment. Dried fish, wool, tin, Flemish cloth, wax. You're trading these goods not for gold, but sometimes for other goods. 3 bolts of coarse linen for 1 bag of pepper. Barter is still a trusted language in much of Europe, especially in rural fairs or towns that mint inconsistent coins. You've learned to weigh everything twice, to bite silver when in doubt, and to never accept copper that shines a little too brightly. The roads you travel, not exactly paved for comfort. Muddy, narrow, rutted tracks through dense woods, crawling with more than wolves. Bandits wait behind trees like forgotten footnotes in a poorly copied manuscript. A merchant's life is half walking, half worrying. You imagine the creak of your cart's wooden axle, the way every turn might be your last, the ache in your feet that never truly leaves. You carry not just your goods, but a mental map of every risk, flooded bridges, toll-collecting nobles, corrupt customs men who sniff out spice like dogs. And then there's the weather. 1 minute you're sweating in southern France under a sun that turns your tunic into a damp rag. The next you're pushing through sleet somewhere near Cologne. Boots soaked, hands numb, yet your mind is busy calculating margins. Will Baltic wax fetch enough to cover the cost of the salt you overpaid for in Bruges? Every gust of wind is a line in your personal ledger. You pull your cloak tighter, feel the damp wool scratch at your neck, and remind yourself, comfort is for customers, not traders. Inside the towns, things aren't much better. Getting permission to trade means bowing before guilds who guard their privileges like dragons. Some demand fees, others demand family ties. If you're an outsider, they'll measure your scales, inspect your goods, and inspect you, your accent, your manner, even your fingernails. You've learned to smile just the right amount, friendly but not weak. You're not here to beg, but you can't afford to offend. One wrong word, and you're back on the road with spoiled cheese and no buyers. And the goods themselves, they're fickle friends. That batch of nutmeg from Venice might turn out to be rotting wood soaked in oil. That honey you bought in Lincoln is thick and golden. But the locals in Ghent say it smells like boiled shoes. You know how to pretend it's aged, how to sell a flawed product with a flourish, how to distract with a tale of distant lands, where spices are guarded by snakes and harvested at great peril. Is it dishonest? Perhaps. But honesty doesn't keep your boots repaired. Your customers aren't fools either. They haggle like priests over doctrine, testing your patience with every phrase. You feel the rhythm of the market in your bones. Offer, counter-offer, insult, retreat, and finally, the reluctant nod. You wipe sweat from your brow and accept the coins, slipping them into the new pouch, tied tighter this time. Each sale is a small war, and you are both general and foot soldier, using smiles as weapons and silence as shields. But not all is bitter. Sometimes you drink warm ale by a fire with fellow traders, swapping stories of frozen rivers, runaway donkeys, and nobles who paid in promises. You share laughter, bread, and tips on which town guards look the other way for a copper or two. In those moments, with your feet blistered and belly full, you feel, oddly, free. This life, for all its grime and gamble, is yours. You've carved it from the road, stitched it from deals, and hung it from your shoulders like a cloak of earned dust. Still, as you sit beneath a stall's faded canopy, catching your breath and rubbing the soreness from your calves, your thoughts drift. Something nags at the edge of your mind. Not just the lost pouch, but what it represents. You weren't just robbed of coins. You were robbed of control, of predictability. And for a merchant, that's worse than theft. It's exposure. You feel the wind shift. A merchant across the lane is staring at you. He's been too quiet today. No shouts, no chatter, no banter. Just watching, too still. too still for a man who sells figs. Why would a fruit seller not try to sell anything at the busiest hour of the morning? So you stare back. His eyes don't flinch. The fruit seller, middle-aged, round-shouldered, with a patched brown cloak and a thin grey scarf, isn't hawking his figs or shouting for custom. He just watches. A stillness that doesn't belong here. You shift your stance, pretending to rearrange a stack of jars, and glance again, still watching. That stillness wraps around your thoughts like damp wool. What does he know? Or what did he see? You decide not to confront him. Not yet. You step away from your stall and into the current of the market. The cobblestones beneath your feet are warm now, the sun creeping higher. Your boots scuff against loose straw and crushed leaves, soft with damp. The smell of roasted leeks mixes with the sharp tang of tanning hides. Somewhere behind you, a woman laughs, high-pitched, sudden, and vanishing just as quickly. Your thoughts cling to that empty space where your pouch should have been. You know how much was in there. 7 silver deniers, 4 bronze opals, and a small copper token engraved with the crest of a port town you visited thrice but never stayed in. The loss isn't just monetary. It's a rupture in your rhythm, a crack in the armor you wear to survive this profession. You weave between stalls, past the potter's tent. He's too busy hurling insults at a drunkard to notice you. And toward the rope seller. You nod at her, a wiry woman with soot-darkened hands, and ask softly, "Did you see anyone near my tent? A stranger, perhaps?" She shrugs, then points her chin toward a group of boys dashing past with sticks in hand, their laughter weaving through the crowd like thread through linen. "Young one's been crawling under tents all morning," she says. "One of them had red sleeves, bit twitchy." You thank her, then drift toward the alley where they disappeared. As you turn the corner, the crowd noise softens, replaced by the distant clatter of carts and the rhythmic slap of wet laundry against stone. The passage smells of cabbage water and wood smoke. You glimpse a shadow duck behind a stack of broken crates. You follow. The boy doesn't run. He's small, 10, maybe 11 years old, wearing a rough spun tunic with red-tinged sleeves, too long for his arms. His hands are dirty, knuckles scraped, fingers thin as twigs. He's crouched beside the wall, chewing on something, a crust of bread, perhaps stolen or traded. His eyes flick up when he sees you, and for a second, you expect him to bolt, but he doesn't. He just watches, wide-eyed, waiting. You crouch down slowly. The stones press into your knees. "I lost something," you say. "Something important. Were you near my tent?" He swallows hard. His throat moves like a knot sliding on a rope. "Didn't say nothing," he mutters. "Didn't even touch." You study him. His tunic hangs from his frame like wet linen. One shoe is missing. The other sole is tied on with frayed twine. His lips are chapped, his breath short. He smells of river mud, hay dust, and the kind of hunger that no stew can fix. "I never said you took anything," you reply. He shifts, curling further into himself. "They always say it." You glance at his hands. No bulges, no glint of silver, no pouch, no clues. And yet, you saw the way he moved through the crowd, light-footed, careful, like someone used to not being noticed, someone who knew exactly where to step. "I had 7 deniers," you say, "and a copper token." Your voice is soft, almost a whisper. "If you saw who took it, I'd be grateful to know." He says nothing. Wind rustles the linen drying overhead. A crow caws from a nearby roof, its cry sharp and solitary. Time slows. The alley holds its breath. Then his eyes shift left. Not toward you, but past you. Brief, quick, just a flicker. You turn your head, And there, standing half hidden in the gap between two buildings, is the fruit seller. Again, closer now, still not shouting, still not selling, his face half shadowed, unreadable. He notices you noticing him, then disappears behind the stone archway like mist in morning sun. You rise. The boy is gone. Not a sound, not a scuffle, as if the cobblestones themselves swallowed him whole. You stand in the alley, alone with the echo of your own breath and the memory of two gazes, one fearful, one too calm. Your fingertips curl at your sides. There's more going on here than a lost pouch. You feel it. You taste it in the back of your throat, like iron and unease. But your question remains. Could a child really have stolen from you? Or is he just another pawn in a game you haven't yet seen the rules to? You stand in the noisy market square, the smell of wood smoke mixing with the sharp tang of iron tools and horse sweat. The heavy clink of coins and the murmur of barter fill the air. Imagine holding a small, cool silver coin in your palm. But can you trust it? In the Middle Ages, money wasn't just cash. It was a gamble. Silver coins were often clipped or cut, literally sliced to make change, because official small denominations were scarce. You might see coins so thin or irregular that merchants bit into them to test their metal's authenticity. The sharp bite marks were a quick way to check for real silver, a practice so common it was nearly expected. Picture the chaos when counterfeit coins circulated. Cheap alloys passed off as precious metal, risking your entire livelihood. Barter remained common too. A sack of grain for a length of wool, or a handful of spices for a sturdy leather belt. Every trade was an exercise in trust and negotiation, punctuated by suspicion. You hear merchants haggling over every penny, eyes darting to each other's hands. A misplaced coin, a slight hesitation, or a suspiciously light purse could ruin deals and reputations alike. The currency wasn't just a medium of exchange. It was a symbol of power, trust, and sometimes deceit. The constant threat of rezanye dengi, clipped money, meant you had to be vigilant. Coins could be cut on the edges, making their weight less, but still passed off at full value by dishonest traders. Sometimes the solution was to bite the coin. If your teeth left marks, you'd know it wasn't cheap metal underneath. Imagine the weight of your purse, the chill of silver against your skin, and the tension in every trade. You understand why every merchant carried a sharp eye and a quick wit. But here's the question that lingers in the marketplace air. How did you ever really know your money was worth its weight? Could you trust a silver coin? Or were you always one bite away from ruin? You stepped cautiously through the narrow, winding streets, the sun climbing higher and casting long shadows between timber-framed houses. The scent of wood smoke and fresh bread fills the air, mingling with something sharper. The unmistakable tang of damp stone and a faint sour note that you recognize as the smell of spilled ale. Your boots press into the uneven cobbles, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, each stone a witness to countless stories of triumph and loss. Ahead, near a pile of discarded crates stained with fermented fruit juice, you spot a small figure crouched low. The boy is no taller than your knee, his clothes threadbare and patched in places where the coarse fabric has worn thin. His hair is matted and tangled, dusted with a film of grime that speaks of days without a proper bath. Yet, there's something about his wide, fearful eyes that pulls at you. A flicker of desperation wrapped in innocence. As you approach, the boy flinches, clutching something close to his chest. The aroma is faint but unmistakable. Stale bread, perhaps pilfered from a baker's cart. His fingers tremble as he holds the crust. knuckles scraped raw from days spent navigating the rough streets alone. You notice a faint scar tracing the edge of his cheek, a pale reminder of past hardships. "Kneel not, boy," you say softly, bending to meet his gaze. "I seek what was lost. If you know of it, speak true. There is no wrath here, only need." He swallows hard, lips trembling. "Didn't take your coin, sir," he whispers, voice barely audible over the distant clang of the blacksmith's hammer. "I'm just hungry." You study the dirt beneath his nails, the calluses on his palms, evidence of a life forced into hardship far beyond his years. The boy's breath comes quick, ragged, scented faintly with the residue of yesterday's meal. You sense the fear radiating from him, an instinct honed to survive the suspicion of others. But suspicion is a merchant's constant companion. Trust is the coin harder to earn than gold. Your heart wrestles with doubt. Can this child be innocent? Or is he a clever pickpocket, exploiting the chaos of the market to line his pockets? His gaunt frame and tear-streaked face suggest starvation, but desperation can breed cunning. "Where did you sleep last night?" you ask, voice steady but gentle, hoping to pierce the wall of silence. The boy hesitates, eyes darting toward a shadowed alleyway where the faint scent of mold lingers. "Under the bridge, by the river," he mutters. "There's shelter from the wind. The water's cold, but better than the streets." You imagine the chill biting through his thin tunic, the loneliness of the night punctuated by the distant howl of dogs and the echo of footsteps on stone. A life on the margins, where survival means keeping to the shadows and trusting no one. "Are there others like you?" you press. "Children lost to the city?" He nods slowly, cheeks hollow, eyes distant. "Too many. They come and go, just like the market crowds. Some find work, others fade away." The weight of his words settles on you, mingling with the morning haze. You reach into your own pouch, now empty, and feel the hollowness where silver once jingled. The loss is bitter, but the thought of innocent hands bearing that burden twists deeper. A sudden shout pulls your attention. From the bustling square, a woman's voice rises sharp and accusing. You turn to see a group of townsfolk gathered, faces etched with suspicion and anger. "Caught the thief," someone cries. Not a child, but a man cloaked in merchant's robes. The crowd parts as a figure is dragged forth, mud-spattered, weary but defiant. Your mind races. If not the boy, then who? And what web of deceit spins through this marketplace? You glance back at the boy, now slipping silently into a side alley, swallowed by the city's labyrinth. His small form blends into the shifting shadows, leaving you with questions as heavy as the morning mist. If not him, then who took what was yours? And what price will you pay to find out? You step through the narrow, winding streets of the medieval town, your boots tapping rhythmically against uneven cobblestones worn smooth by countless footsteps. The air here is thick, heavy with the scent of damp earth, mingled with the sharp tang of refuse and the unmistakable odor of open sewers that snake invisibly beneath the streets. Picture the narrow alleys pressed tightly between timber-framed houses, their upper floors jutting out like overbearing neighbors, casting long shadows that swallow the light. Around you, the clamor of the city surrounds every sense. Merchants shout their wares in a chorus of guttural voices, blending with the cries of hawkers, the clatter of wooden carts, and the occasional braying of pack animals. Somewhere nearby, the sharp clang of a blacksmith's hammer on anvil punctuates the din, sending ripples through the thick, smoke-laden air. The chatter of townsfolk mixes with the squawks of chickens and the distant tolling of church bells. As you navigate this labyrinth, your nostrils flare at the scent of decaying vegetable matter piled near the market square, mingling with the acrid stench of urine trickling down the gutter beside you. Imagine the dampness beneath your feet, where stagnant puddles collect in the depressions between stones, threatening to soak through your leather boots with every misstep. The walls of the buildings lean inwards, as if conspiring to close the space, making the streets feel tighter, claustrophobic even. Yet, despite the grime and noise, the city pulses with life and opportunity. For a merchant like you, it's the place where fortunes can be made or lost. Think of the market stalls bursting with goods from across the known world, bolts of wool from England, spices from the Mediterranean, salted fish from the North Sea. The scents of exotic herbs mingle with the more familiar aromas of fresh bread and roasting meats, tempting even the weariest traveller. Still, the city's bustle isn't without its dangers. The crowded streets invite pickpockets, and the labyrinthine alleys hide all manner of trouble. You have learned to keep a wary eye on every passerby, to clutch your satchel tightly, and to trust no one completely. The narrowness of the streets makes swift escape difficult, turning even minor disputes into dangerous affairs. But there's more beneath the surface. The social stratification is as layered as the city's architecture. The wealthier merchants and guild members occupy the sturdier stone houses with glass windows and carved wooden doors. Meanwhile, artisans and labourers cram into the upper stories of cramped wooden tenements, their living spaces cramped and dark. Rats scurry along rafters overhead, and the threat of fire looms constantly as wooden structures stand shoulder to shoulder, their chimneys spewing smoke that hangs low, obscuring the sun. Imagine now the rhythm of your day here, negotiating with clients, while the cacophony of town life swirls around you, dodging carts and animals, breathing in the mix of scents both foul and fragrant. You feel the weight of 1,000 interactions pressing down, each trade, each deal a delicate balance in this crowded stage. This city, for all its chaos, offers something the open road cannot: a steady flow of customers, the chance to establish reputation, and the potential to join a guild that could protect you, if you can afford it. Yet with all its promise, the city demands constant vigilance. As you pause near a corner stall, you catch a glimpse of a shadow slipping behind a stack of barrels. Your heart quickens, not from fear, but from a familiar sense of unease. Who moves unseen in these crowded streets? And what secrets might the city's grime be hiding? You feel the weight of the morning's losses pressing on your shoulders as you return to your stall, the market's chaos swirling around you like a restless tide. The wooden planks beneath your feet creak softly with every step, the scent of fresh timber mixing with the ever-present hum of voices bargaining, haggling, and sometimes grumbling. Your hands brush over the rough-hewn surface of your goods. Spices from distant lands, bolts of wool dyed deep crimson, jars of honey glistening like captured sunlight, each a fragile thread in the web of your livelihood. But today, the air feels thicker, heavier, charged with something less tangible than the usual bustle. You catch a glance from across the square. The merchant with the cropped beard and sharp eyes, the one whose stall is piled high with fine cloth. His lips curl into a smirk that doesn't reach those eyes. Nearby, another trader, the one who sells leather goods and wears a faded green cloak, is leaning in, whispering to a third man. Their words are too low for you to catch, but their glances in your direction are unmistakable. You can almost hear the unspoken question drifting between them. Will this merchant, yourself, be able to recover? Or will the lost silver mean you're on the brink of collapse? In this world, where fortune teeters precariously on the edge of a coin's weight, such murmurs carry heavy consequences. You steady your breath and approach. The green-cloaked trader's gaze snaps to you, eyes narrowing. "Trouble, friend?" he asks, voice smooth but edged. "Losses are common in our line, yet some more than others." His smile is tight, measured, revealing nothing yet threatening much. You study him, his worn boots, the faded stains on his tunic, the way his fingers twitch near a pouch bulging suspiciously at his belt. "Losses come to all," you reply evenly, "but some recover better than others. Tell me, how would you suggest I do that?" He steps closer, lowering his voice, as if imparting a secret reserved only for the worthy. "Perhaps alone would ease your burdens. There are those among us who can offer aid, for a small price, of course." His eyes gleam briefly, calculating. You hesitate. Debt is a double-edged sword, often more binding than chains. You've heard tales of merchants trapped forever in ledgers, their families caught in the web of interest and obligation. But the prospect of falling behind terrifies you more. Without capital, you're adrift in a sea of rivals eager to claim your customers and your stall. Around you, the market carries on. A baker's cart rattles past, the sweet scent of fresh bread momentarily distracting your senses. Children dart between legs, their laughter a sharp contrast to the tension now settling like dust. You consider the offer, weighing the cost not just in coins, but in freedom. This trader's smile deepens. Think on it. A friend in times of need is worth more than gold. You nod slowly, masking the whirlwind inside. In this crowded marketplace, alliances are fragile, and suspicion is currency. As you turn away, you feel eyes tracking your every move, some hopeful, some wary, all calculating. But beneath the surface of deals and debts lies a more pressing question. How much of your own pride are you willing to risk to survive another day in this relentless market? And as the sun climbs higher, casting long shadows across the bustling square, you wonder, who here truly stands as friend, and who waits for you to falter? You stand amidst the market's relentless hustle, the chatter of traders weaving like a tapestry around you, punctuated by the clinking of coins and the occasional bark of a merchant hawking his wares. Your gaze drifts to the worn parchment tucked beneath your arm, a tally of debts owed and owed to you. It's a fragile thing, this promise of repayment, inked in shaky script, yet binding in ways heavier than any sack of silver. Imagine the texture of that parchment beneath your fingers. Rough, slightly crinkled, scented faintly of smoke and aged wood from the scriptorium, where a monk once carefully penned your contract. The words etched there aren't just symbols. They're chains, invisible yet unyielding, tying you into a web of obligations that can stretch for years, sometimes lifetimes. In your world, money is scarce and precious, but credit is survival. Merchants like you rarely carry enough silver to fund the voyages, purchases, and repairs needed to keep your trade alive. Instead, you rely on loans, small at first, growing with necessity. The lenders, often money changers or wealthier merchants, are both benefactors and jailers. Their ledgers grow heavy with your name, their eyes watchful for any sign of default. Picture the exchange. A nod, a purse of coins slipping across a sturdy wooden table, a whispered agreement sealed with a blessing or a handshake. Yet behind these gestures lurk steep interest rates, sometimes 20, 30, even 50% annually. Failure to repay means penalties that can snowball quickly, swallowing future earnings and limiting your freedom. You think of the last winter, when icy winds rattled the shutters of your cramped quarters. Your debts mounted as goods spoiled, roads froze, and buyers stayed home. To cover losses, you borrowed more, each loan pushing you deeper into the shadows of obligation. The parchment contracts you sign are more than debts. They're warnings etched in ink. Miss a payment, and your name is dragged through the courts, your goods seized, your reputation tarnished. The legal systems are unforgiving. Town councils and merchant guilds enforce strict penalties, ranging from fines to imprisonment. Worse yet, in some regions, chronic debtors faced servitude, forced labor until their debts were paid. You feel the cold weight of this reality, the threat lingering in every transaction. But it's not just about money. Credit creates ties, alliances, or entanglements that bind you to lenders, partners, even rivals. Your decisions must weigh not only profits, but the precarious balance of trust and leverage. One misstep could mean losing everything: your goods, your store, even your freedom. Yet, amid this financial tightrope, there's room for cunning. Merchants craft stories, manipulate terms, or delay payments, all to maintain their precarious footing. You imagine the flicker of candlelight on a late-night negotiation, voices low, promises exchanged with a wink and a nod. Survival in trade is as much about wit as wealth. The market's din fades briefly as you consider a worn debt note, your signature scrawled beneath terms that might as well be chains. You wonder, how many merchants have fallen into the abyss of endless debt, swallowed whole by the very system meant to sustain them? And then a question lingers on your lips, as sharp as a coin's edge. When does borrowing stop being a lifeline and start becoming a trap? You find yourself retracing the steps of yesterday's evening, the events playing like a flickering shadow on the back of your mind. The tavern where you sought brief respite from the relentless market's grind still lingers in your senses. The low murmur of voices melding with the clink of wooden mugs, the warm glow of flickering candles casting dancing light across rough-hewn beams. The smell of spilled ale mixed with damp straw clings stubbornly to your cloak, a reminder of the cramped space where merchants, labourers and townfolk gathered after long, arduous days. You remember the face of your old acquaintance, a man whose name you've known for years, thick-set, ruddy-cheeked, with a laugh that often carried a little too loudly, and eyes that sparkled with something harder than mere mirth. His invitation to share a cup of wine was persistent, almost insistent. You'd shrugged it off at first, but the warmth of the fire and the promise of fleeting camaraderie coaxed you into acceptance. Now, standing alone in the chill of the morning, the memory twists uneasily. That rich, sweet wine. It tasted almost too smooth, with a faint bitterness lurking beneath the surface. Did your friend truly mean to relax and toast, or was there a shadow beneath the gesture? You feel a chill creep down your spine, unrelated to the morning frost. Could someone in your circle harbour ill will masked by joviality? The city awakens around you once more. The clatter of carts over cobblestones, merchants shouting the prices of fine cloth and salted fish, children darting between stalls, their laughter like fleeting bells. You breathe in deeply, tasting the mingled sense of roasting meats, fresh herbs, and the dampness of river mist drifting in from the nearby quay. You consider your friend's behaviour, the way his eyes lingered too long on your pouch before the wine was poured, the subtle smile that didn't quite reach them. In a world where fortunes hinge on a few silver coins, trust is as precious and as fragile as the goods you trade. Betrayal here isn't just personal, it's survival. Your fingers unconsciously brush the edge of your tunic where your pouch used to rest. The loss gnaws at you, a void both material and symbolic. You recall tales whispered in the taverns of men ruined by poisonings and deceit, where a friendly hand concealed a dagger's thrust. Could your trusted companion be playing a deeper game, one that you've yet to understand? Yet suspicion is a dangerous companion. Paranoia can unravel alliances and leave you isolated in a sea of enemies. So you balance doubt with caution, weighing every glance and word. As the marketplace stirs into full activity, you ask yourself, in a time when masks, literal and figurative, are worn daily, how do you discern friend from foe? Who truly deserves your trust in these perilous streets? And as the shadows lengthen, that question settles in your heart like the evening chill. Whom can you truly trust in the tangled web of medieval trade? You set out at dawn, the sun still a pale promise on the horizon, your breath forming small clouds in the crisp morning air. Imagine the rough feel of your leather boots sinking into the soft earth as you step onto a narrow dirt road, lined with ancient trees, whose branches weave overhead like a cathedral's vault. The chill clings to your cloak, a thin shield against the whispering wind that carries scents of pine, damp leaves, and distant smoke from village hearths. Ahead, the path stretches out, unforgiving, uncertain, and long. This is the life of a medieval merchant on the road, where every mile holds a new trial. The carts behind you creak and groan, wheels skidding over stones and roots, laden with goods that represent your hard-earned livelihood. Each jolt sends a ripple through your spine, a reminder of the fragile balance between prosperity and disaster. Picture the night spent under an endless canopy of stars, the cold biting through your linen tunic, despite the cloak wrapped tight around your shoulders. The air is sharp with the scent of wet earth and smoke from small fires, where fellow travelers huddle for warmth. You feel the rough bark of a nearby tree beneath your fingertips as you stretch after hours of sitting cramped on the hard wagon bench. Fatigue clings to your muscles like a second skin, heavy yet familiar. But the road is no friend. Thunderheads gather suddenly, turning the sky a bruised grey. Rain lashes down in sheets, soaking you to the bone as mud turns the once solid path into a treacherous river. Your boots suck and slip with every step, and the wagons struggle, wheels threatening to become lodged in the muck. The coal seeps deeper, and the firelight of the last campsite seems miles away. You know the dangers well. Bandits lurk in the shadows, men who have learned the cruel art of patience, waiting for a moment of weakness or distraction. Their eyes gleam with cold calculation, and their knives flash like lightning in the gloom. Each journey requires constant vigilance, your senses sharpened to every crack of a twig or rustle in the underbrush. Illness is another enemy. The damp roads breed fevers and chills. You remember a merchant who fell ill from a foul cough, his skin pale beneath a thin sheen of sweat. There's no apothecary's remedy on the trail, only the mercy of time and hope. You clutch your cloak tighter, feeling the rough thread against your skin, and whisper a prayer for health to the saints. Rest is scarce. You make do with what the road offers, sleeping on a bedroll laid atop cold, uneven ground, the stars your only ceiling. The chill wakes you often, and the howls of wolves echo faintly through the night. Sometimes a traveller's cough, or the distant cry of a child pierces the silence, reminding you that the world continues beyond your solitary vigil. Yet, despite the hardship, the road is alive. Morning brings the chatter of birds, the rustling of leaves, and the warm scent of wood smoke drifting from distant hamlets. Fellow merchants exchange news and warnings, Tales of blocked passes, new tolls, or fresh bandit sightings. You gather such stories like precious cargo, for knowledge is as vital as any good. Your thoughts turn to the destination, a market town bustling with opportunity, where your goods might fetch a fair price. But the path there demands endurance and a sharp mind. You wipe the mud from your hands, the gritty texture a stark contrast to the silk and spices you carry. You feel the weight of your pack pressing against your back, a constant reminder of the risks and rewards bound to this life. As the trail winds ahead, a flicker of movement catches your eye, a figure standing at the crossroads, cloaked and still. You pause, heart tightening. Is this a fellow traveler, a guide, or something else entirely? In a world where every stranger could be friend or foe, you weigh your next step carefully. And as you stand there, the question settles like dust on your shoulders. Who will watch your back when the road turns dark and the dangers come calling? You return to your friend's stall, just as the sun dips low, casting long amber streaks across the marketplace. The crowd has thinned to a gentle murmur, footsteps softer on the worn cobbles. The air carries a faint chill now, mingling with the faint scent of roasted chestnuts from a nearby vendor. You pause near the back of his stall, where shadows deepen between stacks of crates and woven baskets. There, half hidden beneath a coarse woolen cloth, you spot it, your coin pouch, empty and forgotten. Your heart stutters, a sharp pulse of betrayal shooting through your chest. The leather is worn, the stitching frayed, but unmistakably yours. The cool air brushes against your skin as you reach down, the rough texture of the pouch's surface grounding you to the moment. You hold it carefully, fingers trembling, eyes searching for answers in the fading light. The silence is thick, broken only by the distant laughter of children playing and the faint creak of a cart's wheel. The weight of trust broken presses heavy on your shoulders. Your friend approaches quietly, his face unreadable in the dim glow. "You found it," he says, voice low, almost too casual. You notice a flicker in his eyes, something guarded, maybe defensive. The years of shared stories and deals swirl briefly in your mind. Could this man, once your ally, be the one who betrayed you? The marketplace feels suddenly colder, the once vibrant colors muted by suspicion. You watch him closely, noting the subtle twitch of his hand near a hidden pouch, the quick glance away when your gaze meets his. But before you can speak, a voice calls from the square. "Thief, arrest him." Heads turn as a group of townsfolk rush toward the commotion. You glimpse a man struggling against rough hands, the leather merchant from earlier, face pale, eyes wild with fear. Whispers ripple through the crowd like a sudden breeze, carrying rumors of deceit and hidden plots. Your friend's gaze hardens for a moment, then softens, almost pleading. "I swear I had no part," he says. "Someone wants to sow discord between us." The crowd closes in, voices rising in accusation and fear. You find yourself caught between doubt and loyalty, the boundaries blurred like the fading daylight. Your fingers tighten around the empty pouch, a symbol of lost trust, of alliances tested. As shadows deepen and the night encroaches, a single question lingers in the air, heavier than the coming darkness. Is your friend truly guilty? Or is there a darker hand weaving this betrayal? You find yourself standing before the heavy wooden doors of the town's courthouse, its stone walls towering and weathered, bearing centuries of whispered judgments and shouted verdicts. Imagine the coolness of the carved oak beneath your fingertips as you push the door open, stepping into a chamber where justice is as much about power as fairness. The air is thick with dust, mixed with a faint, lingering scent of tallow candles burning low on iron sconces. Around you, the courtroom is filled with a restless crowd. Merchants, townsfolk, guards in chainmail, and officials in stern robes. The floorboards creak softly underfoot, echoing the murmur of voices filled with tension and anticipation. You notice the sharp glare of the magistrate, a man whose lined face and steel-grey eyes have seen countless trials, his expression unreadable as he presides over the proceedings. The accused stands in the centre, a man cloaked in faded wool, hands bound loosely before him. The charge: theft. In a marketplace where trust is fragile and suspicion plentiful, such accusations are both common and deadly serious. You feel the weight of the moment pressing in, the whispered hopes and fears of onlookers swirling like dust motes in the dim light. The law here is a harsh master. Punishments for theft can range from hefty fines to corporal penalties, whippings, branding, or even mutilation. In severe cases, especially for repeat offenders, the sentence might be death. Innocence, however, is a fragile thing. The courts rely heavily on testimony, often from neighbors, rivals, or those with something to gain. Evidence, as we understand it today, is scarce. Instead, oaths, ordeals, and public opinion carry the day. You watch as a witness steps forward, voice shaky but determined, accusing the man of sneaking behind stalls and lifting coin pouches under cover of distraction. The accused denies vehemently, sweat beading on his brow, eyes darting nervously. You sense the tension crackling through the room. Justice balanced on a knife's edge. Consider the ordeal still practiced, carrying a red-hot iron, plunging a hand into boiling water, or being submerged in water to prove innocence. These tests are brutal and far from reliable, yet believed to reveal divine judgment. You imagine the cold shock of water, the searing pain of iron, the trembling hope that faith will protect you. The magistrate's gavel falls, momentarily silencing the room. You know that here fairness is a rarity, and social standing can tip the scales. A wealthy merchant might bribe his way to leniency, while a poor man's plea falls on deaf ears. Justice serves the powerful, leaving many to suffer under its weight. As the verdict looms, you ponder the chances of truth prevailing. How often are the innocent punished while the guilty walk free? The thought lingers, unsettling yet familiar, echoing the very uncertainty that colors your own dealings in the market. And as you step back into the fading light, a question presses against your mind. In a world ruled by fear and favor, can true justice ever be found? You stand face to face with your old friend beneath the fading light of a weary day. The market's distant hum feels miles away, swallowed by the heavy silence between you. Imagine the rough texture of the cobblestones beneath your boots, the cool evening air carrying faint scents of wood smoke and crushed herbs from nearby stalls. Your breath forms small clouds in the chill, mingling with the faint murmur of voices carried on the breeze. Your friend's eyes meet yours, wide and searching, shadowed with worry. His hands twitch nervously, fingers brushing against the worn leather of his cloak as if seeking comfort in its familiarity. The tension coils tightly between you, thick enough to taste, a mixture of betrayal, confusion, and the fragile hope that loyalty might still hold. He speaks, voice low and trembling. I swear, I took nothing from you. Not a denier, not a token. You have my word, on my honor. You notice the slight quiver in his tone, the flicker of sincerity. Or is it fear? The lines on his face deepen, etched by years of hard living, and now the strain of accusation. You feel your own heart hammering, a storm of doubt and lingering trust warring within. The marketplace, once a vibrant backdrop, now seems distant, dimmed by the weight of this confrontation. You both stand locked in a delicate dance, where words are weapons and silence a shield. The worn wood of a nearby stall creaks as a breeze slips through, carrying whispers that prick at your senses. Suddenly, from the depths of the narrowing street, a commotion rises. Shouts, hurried footsteps, the sharp cry of alarm. Your ears catch fragments. Another theft, someone caught in the act. The crowd's energy shifts, rippling like a wave crashing upon the shore. The tension snaps. Your friend's eyes flicker toward the noise, his jaw tightening. You both turn to see figures pushing through the gathering crowd, the faces pale, breathless and accusing. The staccato rhythm of voices rises, weaving a new thread of uncertainty and danger. You stand at a crossroads, between belief and suspicion, loyalty and survival. The shadows lengthen, the marketplace transforming once again into a stage of secrets and shifting alliances. And as the evening deepens, a question burns quietly beneath the noise. Who will be next to face the crowd's harsh gaze? And how much of your world will unravel before the night is done? You walk again through the bustling market, where the scent of fresh herbs mingles with the faint, coppery tang of spilled coins and the earthy aroma of trampled straw. Imagine the constant hum of voices bargaining, children running with gleeful shouts, and the clatter of carts navigating the crowded paths. Beneath this lively surface, however, lurks a darker reality, a world where crime and punishment play out as a constant undercurrent. Picture the many thieves and swindlers drawn to the fair, where pockets are full and distractions are plenty. A skilled pickpocket can slip a hand into a merchant's pouch unnoticed, or a cunning con artist might exchange counterfeit coins with a practiced smile. The crowd's energy, once a source of hope, becomes a playground for those who thrive in shadows. The law, though harsh, struggles to keep pace with these misdeeds. Justice in these times is swift and public, designed as much to deter as to punish. Imagine the shame of being led to the pillory, the wooden frame in the town square, where the offender's head and hands are locked in place, exposed to the jeers and pelting of rotten vegetables from an unforgiving crowd. The stench of sweat and fear is palpable, mixed with the sour smell of overripe fruit hurled with angry aim. Some thieves face branding, a searing mark etched into their skin to warn others of their crime. The heat of the iron presses onto the flesh, a pain that echoes long after the flames have cooled. For merchants, this mark is a scarlet letter, branding not just their bodies, but their very names in the community. Fines and restitution are common punishments, but often beyond the means of the poorest offenders. Failure to pay can lead to imprisonment or forced labor, sometimes in the harshest conditions, far from the warmth of home. You imagine the cold stone cells, damp and dark, where days blend into nights with little hope. Yet, despite these dangers, fairs continue to thrive. Their allure is undeniable: goods from distant lands, lively entertainment, and the chance for fortune and fame. For many, the risk of theft or deceit is outweighed by the opportunity to see the world beyond the village and to make a living on their own terms. As you weave through the crowd, a commotion catches your attention. A group gathers near the market cross, their voices rising in accusation and outrage. You see a man being dragged toward the stocks, his face pale and eyes wild with desperation. The crowd's jeers echo off the timbered buildings, a reminder that justice here is as much spectacle as sentence. You catch your breath, feeling the weight of the moment. The line between right and wrong blurs amid survival and greed, trust and betrayal. The market is a microcosm of the world itself, vibrant, dangerous, and ever-changing. And as you turn away, your thoughts linger on one question, heavy and unresolved. In a place where crime is as common as commerce, how do you protect what's yours without losing yourself? You stand at the edge of the bustling market square, the late afternoon sun casting long, soft shadows that stretch between timbered stalls and cobblestone paths. The air is thick with a mingling of scents, freshly woven wool, crushed herbs, and the faintly acrid trace of smoked meat roasting nearby. Your fingers still tremble slightly, tracing the worn leather of your empty pouch tucked beneath your cloak. Word has spread swiftly through the market like wildfire. The true thief has been caught. Not the boy, not your once trusted friend, but the fabric merchant, an imposing man with a reputation for sharp deals and finer cloth than most could afford. You recall his stall, draped in bolts of dyed linen and silk, the glint of polished shears always at his side, and the confident way he commanded attention. Imagine the ripple of murmurs as the merchant was seized, his once proud gaze replaced by desperation, his well-tailored cloak rumpled and stained from the scuffle. The crowd's eyes bore into him, a mixture of shock and disbelief mingling with the satisfaction of justice served. You feel the collective breath of the marketplace held and then released, like a wave crashing upon the shore. Relief washes over you, warm but complicated, curling like smoke around your thoughts. The weight of suspicion lifts from shoulders that had borne it unevenly. Yet, beneath the surface of that relief lies a bitter seed. Trust, once broken, is not easily mended. Faces you once greeted with nods now carry a hint of caution. Eyes that once sparkled with camaraderie now flicker with hesitation. You reflect on the fragile threads binding this community, woven from shared hardships, mutual interests, and the constant balancing act of commerce and survival. Each betrayal is a tear in that fabric, threatening to unravel the tapestry that holds you all together. The evening light softens, the marketplace's noise ebbing to a gentle murmur. You lean against a wooden post, the grain rough beneath your palm, and wonder what comes next. The day's trials have shifted the landscape, leaving new questions in their wake. What are your next steps? Do you seek out allies to rebuild what was lost? Do you guard your heart and goods more fiercely, retreating into cautious solitude? Or do you dare to trust once more, risking the possibility of betrayal for the hope of connection? As the sky deepens into twilight, these thoughts swirl like embers, glowing softly but persistently. The path forward is uncertain, but the market awaits, and with it, the chance for a fresh beginning. And so, you stand at a crossroads once again, pondering this crucial question. After betrayal and revelation, how do you rebuild trust in a world woven with suspicion? You stand in the quiet corner of your stall, the muted light of late afternoon filtering through the gaps in the wooden beams overhead. The scent of wool and tanned leather lingers in the air, mingling with faint hints of beeswax and the earthy aroma of dyed fabrics stacked neatly around you. Your fingers brush over the coarse weave of your linen shirt, its threads rough against your skin, yet familiar. A second layer of protection against the chill that often creeps in with the changing seasons. Imagine the weight of your woolen cloak draping over your shoulders, its thick folds warm but not always forgiving. The heavy fabric brushes against the smooth, worn leather of your boots, which have long borne the scars of countless market days. Scuffs from cobblestones, dried mud from rain-soaked roads, and the occasional tear stitched back together by a cobbler's practiced hands. These boots, though sturdy, feel stiff and unyielding after hours spent pacing between stalls and negotiating deals. Clothing in your world is a statement as much as a necessity. The cut of your tunic, the quality of your belt, even the color of your hose mark your place in the delicate social hierarchy. You recall how patrons' eyes linger on the dyed crimson of your cloak, a shade reserved for those with enough wealth to afford the costly dyes imported from distant lands. Yet the desire to impress often battles with the realities of comfort. You shift slightly, feeling the itch of your linen undergarments, a fabric chosen more for its breathability than softness. The long sleeves sometimes restrict your movements, sleeves rolling up during the heat of the day but never fully comfortable. The sun, climbing higher in the sky, casts a warm glow, but the layers trap heat, making your skin sweat beneath the multiple fabrics. Picture yourself adjusting your leather belt, its buckle cold and heavy against your waist. It holds more than just fabric. Pouches for coins, small tools, and perhaps a dagger for protection. Each item adds weight, a reminder of the constant readiness the merchant's life demands. Yet, fashion and practicality often clash. The latest trends from the royal courts filter down slowly, urging you to adopt styles that are neither suited for travel nor long market days. Narrow sleeves, tight hose, elaborate embroidery, luxuries that come with sacrifices. You think of the times you've returned home with bruised ankles or chafed skin, the cost of keeping appearances. The market's background noise fades momentarily as a breeze stirs, carrying the sense of fresh hay and distant wood smoke. You hear the rustle of fabric from a passing noblewoman's gown, smooth and flowing, a stark contrast to your own layered attire. The gulf between your worlds feels tangible. Still, clothes are armor and identity alike. In a society that judges a man by his dress as much as his word, your garments speak volumes. They protect you from the elements, mark your status, and offer a semblance of dignity amid the dirt and chaos. As you prepare to face another day, under the watchful eyes of customers and rivals, you pause, wondering, is the price of fashion worth the discomfort? And when does the pursuit of style become a burden heavier than any sack of coins? That thought lingers as your fingers tighten their grip on your cloak's edge. You stand in the dim light of your stall, the late afternoon sun filtering weakly through the patchy canvas overhead. The marketplace noise has softened to a distant murmur, but inside your chest, a tempest brews. You face the man who admitted to stealing your coins, a gaunt figure with restless eyes, hands fidgeting nervously as he struggles to explain. His breath is uneven, smelling faintly of ale and desperation, his voice wavering as he recounts how the stolen silver was quickly spent on debts, food, and reckless whims. Imagine the texture of the worn wooden table between you, rough, scarred from years of deals and disputes. As you rest your hands on its edge, steadying yourself. The leather of your pouch, now empty and painfully light, sits beside you, a cruel reminder of what's lost. The merchant's words fill the air, thin and hollow. Promises to repay, pleas for understanding, yet no tangible restitution in sight. Around you, the marketplace fades into a blur. The scent of wet earth after a sudden rain, the faint clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the rustling of cloth from passing customers. Your mind wrestles with the sting of betrayal, mixed with the harsh reality of your own precarious position. You had counted on that silver for restocking your goods, paying off loans, or simply keeping the wolves of debt at bay. His excuses, though genuine or not, ignite a slow burn of frustration deep within. The man's eyes plead, but your gaze hardens, reflecting the tough lessons carved by years in trade. You recall nights spent poring over ledgers, calculating every coin, every loss, every gain. The stolen silver was more than money. It was a piece of your livelihood, a thread in the fragile tapestry holding your future together. You imagine the long roads ahead, the cold mornings waiting at the next market town, the endless work to recoup even a fraction of what's gone. The burden feels heavier now, pressing down like the weight of the sacks you carry each day. And yet, despite the mounting despair, you know the game must go on. There's no time for paralysis. Survival demands action. You must decide how to cover your losses, whether by negotiating harsher terms with creditors, cutting costs, or seeking new alliances. The marketplace's distant chatter returns, a reminder that life moves relentlessly forward, indifferent to individual woes. Your fingers tighten around the edge of your cloak as a single question lodges firmly in your thoughts. How do you recover when the trust is broken and the silver is gone? You awaken in the cramped confines of a modest inn. The rough wooden beams overhead casting long shadows in the flickering candlelight. The air is heavy with the mingled scents of herbs drying in bunches, stale ale lingering from the day's last patrons, and a faint undertone of something medicinal, perhaps crushed roots or brewing potions. You can almost taste the metallic tang of worry, thick in the cool morning air. Imagine the aching in your joints, a dull, persistent reminder that the road and market have taken their toll on your body. The chill creeping into your bones feels sharper here, away from the protective bustle of the marketplace. You feel vulnerable, exposed, not just to the elements, but to the unseen dangers that lurk in sickness. In these times, medicine is a curious blend of knowledge, superstition, and desperate hope. The local healer might be a wise woman, or an itinerant barber surgeon, equipped with little more than rudimentary tools and a well-worn book of remedies passed down through generations. Imagine the strange assortment of salves and poultices, the pungent smell of herbs like sage, thyme, and even more exotic ingredients traded along your journey. Picture yourself sitting patiently as a healer examines your pulse, her fingers cold but practiced, searching for signs of imbalance. She might suggest bloodletting, a common practice intended to purge the body of bad humors, or apply a poultice of mustard seeds to draw out the sickness. You grimace at the thought, but understand the desperation behind these methods. More unusual cures are also common, wearing amulets, reciting prayers, or applying mixtures made from parts of animals and plants believed to have magical properties. You recall tales of merchants who trusted such remedies, sometimes to their benefit, sometimes with tragic outcomes. Illness on the road is a merchant's greatest fear. The slightest fever can become a death sentence, as hospitals are scarce and often terrifying places. Imagine the discomfort of confinement, the thin straw bed, the constant buzz of flies, and the distant moans of others suffering nearby. A merchant falling ill far from home risks not just health but livelihood, as missed markets mean lost opportunities and mounting debts. Your mind drifts to the recent stories whispered among traders of a fellow merchant felled by plague in a distant town, his goods left unattended, his debts mounting in his absence. The harsh reality of medicine and travel intertwines, casting a long shadow over the hopes of prosperity. As you rise from the rough chair, feeling the ache in your limbs anew, the question presses on your spirit. In a world where sickness is both common and often untreatable, how do you balance the risks of travel with the urgent need to keep moving forward? You stand at the edge of the bustling market, the evening sun casting long, amber shadows across the cobblestones. The air vibrates with the fading hum of bargaining voices, the clatter of wooden carts, and the distant clang of a smith's hammer. Your hands rest on the rough-hewn counter of your stall, fingers tracing the worn grain as you prepare for a deal that could make or break your fortunes. Imagine the weight of the coins in your leather pouch, a precious cash that could replenish your stock or seal your debts. The goods arranged before you, spices from the east, bolts of wool dyed in rich, earthy tones, glinting trinkets brought from far-off lands. All promise profit, but only if the deal goes your way. The faces of potential buyers flicker in your mind, shrewd merchants with sharp eyes, their smiles hiding the calculation of gain and loss. The risk is palpable. You hear your heartbeat steadying, the rhythm that matches the rising tension in the air. Every glance, every word exchanged could tip the scales toward fortune or disaster. You recall tales of traders lost to unscrupulous partners, caravans plundered, and fortunes vanished in a single misstep. Suddenly, the chatter around you dims as an imposing figure approaches, the inspector of the Merchant Guild. His cloak is embroidered with the sigil of authority, the heavy keys to the market gates clinking softly at his belt. His gaze scans the stalls with practiced scrutiny, resting momentarily on your wares. The marketplace seems to hold its breath. You feel the rough texture of the wooden counter beneath your palms, the cool breeze carrying the scents of baked bread and roasting meats, now mingled with the faint, unsettling scent of authority. The inspector's voice rings out firm and commanding, "A word, merchant." The murmurs swell again as curious eyes turn toward you. Your heart tightens as the risk you accepted moments ago transforms into a different kind of peril. What is the inspection about? Are your goods up to standard? Or does the threat loom larger, perhaps accusations of foul play, counterfeit wares, or breach of guild rules? The answer hangs in the air like a suspended breath. As the inspector beckons, the crowd parts slightly and you step forward, knowing that the outcome of this encounter could shift the course of your fortunes irrevocably. And so, the question lingers, heavy and urgent. In a world where trust is scarce and the rules are many, how do you navigate the fine line between risk and ruin? You find yourself standing just outside the heavy oak doors of the guild hall, the sun dipping low in the sky and casting a warm amber glow over the cobblestone street. The scent of burning tallow from nearby lanterns mixes with the faint aroma of damp earth and freshly chopped wood. Around you, merchants, craftsmen, and traders gather, their voices low but purposeful, echoing off the timber frame buildings that line the narrow street. Imagine the weight of the heavy leather-bound ledger resting in your arms, the embossed emblem of the guild pressed into its cover, a symbol both of protection and of control. You feel the coarse fabric of your wool cloak against your skin, a reminder of your status as a merchant who has paid the price to be part of this exclusive brotherhood. Guilds in the medieval world were more than just trade associations. They were the lifeblood of the commercial community. Membership granted access to shared resources, protection from bandits and unfair competition, and the power to influence local market regulations. But this sanctuary came at a cost. Regular dues, strict rules, and adherence to quality standards meant your freedom was somewhat curtailed. Picture the guildmaster's stern face as he addresses the members, his voice steady and commanding. He speaks of loyalty, craftsmanship, and the need to maintain the guild's reputation. His words are a reminder that the guild's power extends beyond mere commerce. It governs your social standing, your ability to trade freely, and even your family's future. The obligations weigh on you. Apprenticeship agreements, restrictions on who you can trade with, and the looming possibility of fines or exclusion for breaches. Yet, turning your back on the guild means risking ostracism and vulnerability in a world where alliances are everything. As you listen, you feel the murmur of the crowd swell, the shuffle of leather boots on stone, the occasional clearing of throats, and the flicker of candlelight casting shadows that dance like restless spirits on the walls. You wonder, is the guild a benevolent protector or a relentless overseer? And in this delicate balance of power and obligation, how much control do you truly have over your own fate? The question lingers as the meeting adjourns, and you step back into the cool evening air, the future uncertain, and the ties that bind both a safety net and a shackle. What does true freedom look like for a merchant bound by guild laws? You feel the heavy weight lift from your shoulders as the deal closes successfully. Relief floods your body, mingled with a rush of joy, the kind that sharpens your senses and renews your confidence. Imagine the crisp air around you, the subtle rustling of parchment as coins exchange hands, and the faint buzz of the crowd settling nearby. Your heartbeat slows, but your mind races with possibilities. The market feels alive again, full of promise, and you almost forget the tension that haunted your every step. Yet, as you glance toward your tent, you notice a gathering crowd forming once more. Whispered conversations ripple through the air like a restless wind, charged with curiosity and suspicion. Their eyes flicker between you and your goods, a silent question hanging heavy in the air. What secret are they whispering about this time? The uncertainty stirs a familiar unease deep inside. What new challenges await beneath the surface of your recent success? The market's vibrant energy, the scent of fresh leather mixed with spices, the murmurs of onlookers. Everything converges into a symphony of tension and anticipation. You stand poised on the edge of a new chapter, wondering, will this wave of attention bring fortune or misfortune? You stand quietly as the crowd disperses, the fading light casting long shadows across the bustling marketplace, now settling into calm. A messenger approaches with news that you've been chosen as a member of the city's merchant guild. A rare honor, bestowed for your honesty and steadfastness. Imagine the weight of that recognition pressing on your shoulders, mingling pride with a subtle sadness. Pride in your perseverance, sadness because this new role promises even greater challenges ahead. Feel the cool evening breeze as it rustles the fabric of your cloak, carrying the mingled scents of spent candles and trampled straw. The distant murmur of the town, winding down, hums like a lullaby, promising rest, but also reminding you of tomorrow's inevitable demands. Your eyes trace the path home, the cobblestones uneven beneath your boots, each step grounding you in the reality of this world, a world where trust is hard-earned and survival is an unending journey. Though the day closes, your mind races ahead. What will this membership mean? More responsibility, more scrutiny, but also new opportunities. The quiet of the night contrasts sharply with the vivid chaos of the fair, reminding you that every ending is but a pause before the next adventure begins. With a deep breath, you prepare to embrace what comes next, carrying both hope and caution in your heart.